Hi, welcome to the, the fourth presentation for the athletic videos. Um, Here we go. I'll kind of review a little bit as regards the first three as we go through here, but no need to overdo it kind of thing. All right, first two videos we went through and we just basically built the parts list. We already had them, but I put some understanding to the parts list build. And really just all those are parts associated with functions. And then we put just the fittings and the fixtures alongside the scaffold for inner structure and outer structure. Third one we went through, kind of hung with the template a little bit, kind of simplified that, and really just started focusing on the systematic functionality. Obviously, hanging with the template, the rule with the template is it's really just functionality, and we start with the systematic functionality and kind of point to the organs alongside. All right. So here, I'm going to touch on these topics that we're going to review in this presentation. We're going to hang with some of the parts that kind of show up often on the parts list, and that's just for the basic design. We'll kind of talk about making materials, possibly moving materials, possibly holding materials, even though that's more so applicable to reproductive design, and then delivering materials. And for the basic design, most of that is just excreting materials. Then we'll hang with sensory design, kind of in a mellow way. I call it hair and nails day. Kind of hang with it, maybe add some understanding, but in a really simple way. Lastly, we'll do an athletic diagram, and we'll use vectors. So very exciting stuff. Okay, so we've got our little guy here, or lady for that matter. So if I get into details here and it's like too much or whatever, just don't even worry about it. Okay, so these are kind of the tools we use here, right? We've got parts and functions. We got our template, but usually I walk you through that because you can use it for quite a bit, but I don't want anyone to get lost with it. And then of course scaffold. Those generalized kind of curly brackets there, those are awesome. So we have used them in the template in the third presentation, but it should really start to kind of simplify things. Yeah. So just looking at the parts in the functions list, the parts that are highlighted there, those really compose the vast majority of the musculoskeleton. And so again, as regards types of parts, those can really be considered tools or mechanisms. Really, what that can imply is that they help with the job of either form or mobility. So frame helping with form more so, and skin and muscle helping with mobility. All right, so we really keep it simple with kind of eventually having this as a part, just the musculoskeleton. And this is not to add too many details, it's really to simplify. But within the basic parts list, these parts are also considered tools or mechanisms as well. But what I basically have for the part listed with this kind of general group 3 is going to be musculoskeleton. The organs here, when I refer to them more so as a mechanism, it's going to be for musculature reasons. Okay, so here we've got an example. I start with this one mostly because it's just in 2 of the categories. And we'll look at this next list here real quick, and I'll kind of go through one of the rules with the parts list. So basically, when I put these parts lists together, I only put a part in each of the general groupings at the very most. So for this example, for this type of part, it is listed in 2 of these general groupings. And so it's not going to be part of the inner structure parts list and then in the same grouping part of the outer structure parts list. It's not, yeah. All right, so for here we've got integumentary part, so a sensory part. And really all it is it's touch out. And then for the frame, it's more so provides the functionality of form. So for the sensory parts, we've got this one here. The direction of the sensation is outwards and it is touch out. All right, so hanging with that template, the simplified one, where we're just kind of showing the functionality for the systematic functions, the teeth are not in there. So for this one, as far as what they provide function wise, they can transfer touch outwards, and they can help with form for a jaw. All right, so now this one is quite amazing. I actually have the tongue listed in all of the 3 general groupings. Integumentary part, and we'll show that sensory parts slide in just a second. I have it as an organ, as it can cultivate saliva. And I have it as a muscle, as it can move saliva, for example purposes. As it regards referring to it as a sensory part, the way I have it organized is that it has 3 sensations and they have different directions. So for outwards, auditory out, and for inwards, touch in, and then also taste in. All right, so here we are with our little template here, and it's pretty cool. So the tongue makes saliva. It feels saliva, so touch in. It can mobilize or move saliva. It can taste saliva. And then for the last sensory type for tongue, the tongue can also help to speak. And that would be a sensory output being auditory output. So the basic design is really more about moving materials in and out of an overall unit. Saliva and gastric juices are great examples of materials cultivated by the group 5 plumbing for functionality. So this is just, of course, the basic design. A lot of it is just for renewal of the structural build. As we touch on hair and nails, this can be renewal of the structural build, but I think it's commonly thought of as just growing more hair or growing longer nails. They're definitely unique unto their own. All right, so like I mentioned, we're gonna hang with the scaffold here, and we're just gonna keep it pretty mellow with just 2 of these sensory parts, both having to do with touch. One is going one direction and one is going the other direction. All right, so we've got our anatomical regions. And so we have sensations inwards. Okay, so hair is the one we're doing. And we have for the overall anatomical build, generic anatomical build, we've got head hair and then eyelashes. And I put that one down there, like eyebrows are totally reasonable, but eyelashes have a little bit more of a functionality purpose. And then, of course, we have armpit hair and then pubic hair. And so this isn't too different from when we first did it. Now this is actually pretty fun. For the male design, just doing the head scaffold, we can go through, and this one can kind of help with, it's not so much the grain direction of the hair, but I think it's the musculature direction. But in general, it helps with the flow of the head regions. Yeah. All right, so for upper forehead, head hair, of course, and then for lower forehead, eyebrows, those really frame out the more so the next generalized region. But yeah. Then for the eye region, you've got eyelashes. And then for the nose region, you've got mustache. And then going upwards towards the ears, you've got sideburns. So the hair is, of course, going to be going downwards, but yeah. Classic muscle being erector pili muscles, but that would be more so for the hair itself. But yeah, of course, those would integrate well with face muscles. And then kind of curl back around behind the ears, and then you've got, I think they're called chops. So more so that kind of region. And those are kind of, those kind of frame out the jaw towards the back of the head. So back around the ears, then you've got that. And then it caps off at the chin with chin hair. All right, so for female design, not as many parts. You've got head hair, eyebrows, and then eyelashes. And then one thing to make mention of is that when I did the general scaffold for the overall design, there were only 2 places there, right? And so that one had head hair and then eyelashes. And it's okay to put eyelashes there. I realize that they're not going to be on someone's neck, but it's okay to put eyelashes there. That's kind of the rule with the scaffold, like however many slots are there, which coincides with however many groups are within a generalized group, you can put a part there. All right, so here we are with fingernails and toenails. And for the male and female design, it is the same. So again, same type of sensation, but it's going in a different direction. And then we've got nails, and they are transferring a force outwards, so touch outwards. All right, cool. So obviously athletic videos, obviously the title of the videos are anatomy and physiology, but it's really nice to kind of touch on these athletic diagrams. Sometimes you'll see FBD in there. Engineers call them free body diagrams, but it's just kind of how we refer to them. So these are going to be simplified, and here we go. Okay, so we've got basically the 3 units here, and I kind of just go through here and we just kind of use common sense to make sense of it. So we've got the gravity. So the forces, this is, pardon me, sorry. This is going to be like a snapshot as opposed to dynamic. So it's considered a static analysis. What I'm putting together is kind of like like a track stand. Like, yeah. So if someone's on a bike and they're standing still with the bike, that's kind of what I'm teeing up. That's where I'm going. Okay, so we've got just the cyclist, that's one unit, and then we've got the surface, right? And so all the forces on this are going to be equal and opposite. Okay, so kind of subtle engineering words, whatever. It's force of gravity, and that's consistent. And then you've got the normal force. That's just what engineers call it. And so it's just an equal and opposite force in its magnitude and its direction. All right, so that's essentially like the weight of the athlete. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the bike. We've got gravitational force on the bike, and then we've got the normal force where those two units are touching. And I know this is kind of silly, but like I put bike shoes on there, so pretend like there's like clipless bike shoes that are just like hanging on the bike kind of thing, just to try to keep this as straightforward as possible. Okay, so the vectors are shown where the forces are applied. All right, so now we have this cyclist and we have this bike with the shoes on it. And so for the cyclist, the way I kind of have this teed up is that the cyclist is going to be sitting on the saddle and then feet on the pedals with the shoes. And so the gravity applied to that athlete is going to be transferred wherever it's touching that bike. So instead of just having two vectors under their feet, like if they were walking or standing, that same overall magnitude is going to be applied to three places: the saddle and the pedals. All right, and for the interaction with the bike and then the cyclist, it's just going to be equal and opposite. All right, cool. So we've got a whole bunch of vectors here, and we're going to clean it up. All right, so basically the magnitude of the normal force applied to that bike and not the cyclist is going to be those two normal forces: the normal force that was applied just for the athlete and the normal force that was applied just for the gear. So it's just going to be those together, but it's only going to be applied to the bottom of those tires. Oh, right, yeah. All right, and so now we have, we put that together for the combined normal force. Now we've got a little bit of extra vectors here on the little free body diagram, and so we'll work through that one in a second here. So these orange ones are where the bike is, the normal force is being transferred to the cyclist from the bike. And that's like totally fine. You can totally show that, no big deal. But it's really gonna be the the gravity force on the cyclist, which is the same from the beginning, and then the gravity force from the bike and the shoes. All right, I don't know if I change this next slide. All right. So for a static analysis, you're going to see the gravity vectors, so those forces being applied to each of the units, and then the reinforcing normal force coming off from the flat grassy surface here. And that is a static state analysis. All right, very cool. Yeah, so quick kind of flowing review and also where we're going. We've got the parts list for the basic design. We've really hung with it quite a bit. Started to kind of just look at the tools more so like in a modular way. Realize the first two presentations are a little bit like just kind of follow through the motions, and mostly it's me trying to not over describe it, and then touch on describing the rules kind of as we go through, because the rules actually are what makes it really easy. So usually here I place a worksheet. This one's a little different. This is more so like solo research. You can bop online. You can look up a free body diagram. You could look up classic physiological systematic groupings, maybe as it regards gastric juice cultivation, saliva cultivation. Because a lot of this is like making and moving of materials. And I guess, really even as a athlete, you want to kind of understand the flowiness of a static state analysis of an athlete. Whether you're an athlete yourself or if you're coaching athletes. All right, the last presentation is really just a review of the basic design. Going through and just kind of giving more familiarity to the tools we use, and adding some examples for simplification purposes and not for adding confusion purposes. Thank you so much.